We made it. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the conclusion, the grand finale of our kitchen renovation series. If you guys are new here, my name is Kaylee. I live in Maine with my husband Brandon, our son Teddy, and a bunch of pets. And we bought an 1850s farmhouse back in 2021. We have been renovating our house pretty much since the moment we moved in. And this past summer, we started our biggest endeavor, which was renovating our kitchen. It was very much stuck in the 80s, early 90s, had basically not been touched since that time. It had, all this custom cabinetry, a lot of linoleum, a lot of very much what was trendy back in those times, back when we were young kids. It took a long time for us to feel financially ready and mentally ready to rip that kitchen apart and to make it into something that we truly loved. But back in July, we finally started it all. There have been 5 renovation videos thus far, all about our kitchen, so if you have not seen those, I would definitely go back to the beginning and start there. There's a pre-renovation video where I do an overview of the project and what we're planning to do, and then there are 4 project vlogs where I basically am showing you every single day what we're doing. I have a little timeline on those videos so you can really see how long everything took us. In all, we started in July and we ended in December. And as I'm sitting here in February, we are mid-February right now, there are actually a couple of outstanding things that need to be done. And that's just how it goes with renovations. There's always going to be something. But as I'm sitting here right now, the under cabinet lighting is not complete, and we just got a dishwasher yesterday, and that is not fully installed. It's in its spot, but it's not fully installed. So you guys may not see that fully completed, and I'm sorry for that. I really wanted to put this out this month because I know you all have been waiting with bated breath to see the final reveal. But the kitchen is 99% there, and so I wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about it, because if you are a homeowner yourself and you're interested in doing this kind of project, I want to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I also want to give you a pricing breakdown for this project that I've been promising, because we had a budget, and I want to tell you all about said budget and whether we stayed in the budget. But I'm first going to start by talking about just different elements of the project, things that we liked, didn't like, regretted doing, are happy that we did. I have a whole list of things on my phone that I want to chat about, and then at the very end we're going to do the budgeting, breakdown, and what we spent. And again, as always, if you're interested in just seeing one thing or the other, there is always going to be timestamps on these videos, so feel free to jump around and watch what's interesting to you. Or of course stick around for the whole thing. I love that too. And there's also an entire playlist on my channel of home renovations if you guys are interested in seeing other things that we've done to this house, and it's all been completely DIY. So if you're looking to get into DIY, I would definitely go check those out, see how we did different things. We're not professionals. These are not necessarily instructional videos, but you can just see how we did stuff and how things turned out for us. And spoiler alert, they're not always perfect. That's just how DIY goes. Okay, let's get talking about this kitchen because it's been a long time coming, okay? So it felt right to start with the pros and cons of doing your own kitchen renovation because obviously if you have a little bit more of a budget, you can hire some stuff out, but we just did not have that. So it was basically like, okay, if we're going to do this, we got to go head first, we got to do it all ourselves and hope for the best, essentially. We're going to rip apart one of our most used rooms in our home and we're going to hope for the best. Pros of doing this yourself. It's the first thing we'll talk about. The big one is saving money. Obviously, you are going to save a lot of money not having to hire out different tasks. You're not hiring a plumber, you're not hiring an electrician, you're not hiring painters, you're not hiring someone to do your floor. You're doing it. So you're going to save on the labor costs there. It's also easier to work with your budget because you can see those figures like straight in front of your face and you know you don't have to factor in labor. You just basically are looking at pricing of material and that's it. And so it's easier to work with a budget that way, in my opinion. You're not having to get quotes from different contractors, different professionals, and comparing them and trying to figure out who to hire. You're not waiting around for those people because they're on their own time. And so with this, you can be on your own time. You can do things at your own pace. It's going to allow you to, for more creative freedom, you can kind of just wing it if you want. You can do whatever you want. You can use whatever materials you want, and you're not getting input from an outsider, which of course can be a good thing if you're really inexperienced with building materials and what's best to use. There's tutorials online, but you know, like a professional is always going to tell you kind of their opinion of the best way to go. But if you feel confident in the materials that you're using or how to do things, you're not necessarily getting, kind of comments from the peanut gallery if you're doing things yourself. Okay, so another pro for this was definitely that it is a bonding experience. If you're taking this on with a partner, you are going to have a lot of quality time together throughout the process, and it feels like a good bonding experience, especially when the outcome of a specific part of the project or the project as a whole is good. You're both feeling that positivity from it, like, wow, we did this. You know, we were joking ahead of time, like, oh, is this the renovation that's gonna like end the marriage? Jokingly. But renovations can be really stressful. They can be really straining on couples that take them on. So for us, I felt it was a bonding experience, and we look back on it and talk about it all the time, like how we love how we did one thing or another. So, that was definitely a plus for us. We were both very involved in the project, which was nice. Okay, let's talk about the cons, because I know you all want to hear the cons. Of course, there are some. The first one being that this takes a ton of time. I'm not exaggerating. When I say July to December, I mean July to December with almost no breaks. So if you're going to take on something this big, just be prepared that your time is going to be almost completely put into this project unless you want it to drag on even more. July to December was with us taking almost no breaks. I think we took maybe 2 to 3 weekends off, one being for a trip to New Hampshire with family, and then a couple others. I think we took like maybe one day of the weekend off and went and did something, and then the other day we were here. So it's extremely time consuming. Like, just keep all of that in mind. There are also hidden expenses. That's another one where you can make a budget, you can lay it all out on a spreadsheet like I did, and then there are always going to be things that come up that you're like, oh, we need that. That can be kind of difficult. You also are digging into a space that you don't know what you're going to find, and for us with this house, we always find something. So there's always kind of needing to adjust the expectations and potentially spend more money to accomplish what we're looking to do. That's almost every single project that we do. So you're going to have hidden expenses, and overall the project's probably going to take you longer because you're not a professional, you're doing a DIY, you're learning as you go. So, overall it's going to take a bit longer to accomplish what you want to do. You also need to take into account that you are taking up a space that could potentially be a high traffic area. Like for us, it's a kitchen. We're cooking in it all the time. We were constantly having to adapt to the counters being inaccessible, the sink being inaccessible, the cabinets being wide open for weeks at a time, appliances on the table, appliances like out in the entryway. We had stuff everywhere. It was a disaster. It felt like you were just surrounded by stuff constantly. It was very overwhelming. It was very difficult. It frustrated me more times than I can count, just saying to myself, like, I just want to be done with this. I think, with our other renovations we've done, the rooms that we've done have not been high traffic areas like that. And if we ever did another renovation that was like this, it would probably be in the bathroom. And I don't even know how we would approach it, because after the kitchen, seeing how difficult that was, I don't even know how we could do another area like a bathroom. It would just be very stressful. And no, we're not touching the bathroom anytime soon, guys. Like, I was just using this as an example, and that's probably why we won't touch it for a while. It's overwhelming to be trying to work and live in a space that is under construction. So you have to kind of prepare yourself for that. And the last con I came up with is, like, there's just more room for error. Not being a professional, doing these types of projects, like putting in flooring, cutting countertops, and there's just a lot of kind of high risk things that we did that there was definitely a higher room for error than you would get with a professional. Of course, with professionals, like, sometimes they mess up too, but with DIYing, you definitely have to move at a way slower pace with the high risk stuff, because you don't want to be throwing money out the window, and it can be very nerve-wracking. So, it's just adding a little bit to your stress. Now, I know that was kind of a lot of cons, but between the pros and cons, would I go the DIY route again with this kind of project? I think so. I'm going to talk more, I think, a little bit about the things we would change. Yes, down further I have that. But I wouldn't hire this out if I had to do it over again. I would still do DIY. I think overall the pros outweighed the cons by a lot. And then ultimately we couldn't do this project if we had hired people out. We didn't have the money for that, so it was DIY or nothing. And I think looking back on it, I would do that again. I would DIY it again. Let's talk about the biggest challenge versus the easiest parts. So for us, the biggest challenge was the countertop, and it's still a challenge at the moment. I'll get to that in a minute. We went with a butcher block counter, but we wanted to poly it so that we're not having to take care of the wood, because when you have a raw butcher block counter, you're having to constantly maintain it, oil it, it's going to get stained. We didn't want any of that. So we said, okay, we're going to do a butcher block counter and we're going to poly it. First of all, it was extremely difficult to cut the pieces. Our countertop is a weird shape, and it had to be multiple sections. Brandon and his dad did it. It ended up working out really well. They made all the cuts correctly the first time around, but it was a very stressful day. And I think in the vlog, I think that was the first vlog? Yeah, it was the first one. I do a whole segment where I'm just sitting there so stressed out, because that day was just high stress. And once the counters were in, there was issues with bolting them down because of the way that the cabinets are built. So Brandon had to modify a lot of how he was going to do things, and it overall just ended up being a lot more work than anticipated. And it's still continuing to be an issue because we did not do the proper research. We used a water-based poly on our counters, and I couldn't even tell you how much I don't recommend that. We used this Hevea wood, which was the cheapest and not the best. The grain actually pushes up through the poly, and where it's water-based, it's just not sealing properly. So we have a lot of spots that are leaking. So if you wipe the counters down, you get little spots where the moisture is getting through. And so we actually have to re-poly the counters. And we are able to buff down the water-based poly and do a oil-based over that and do several coats of the oil-based. And it is something that we're going to be doing very soon because we don't want to damage the counters. But that was just kind of a regret for me. I wish we had been able to purchase counters from IKEA. I had found composite wood ones that were basically already protected as is, but they did not sell the sizes that we needed, so we ended up going with just the raw wood and cutting it. And I don't know, looking back on it, I just wish we had gone a different route because we're still having problems with them. Are they pretty? Sure, but we're having problems with them. So bear in mind, if you do do butcher block counters, you 100% need an oil-based poly. Do not use water, even if it's what you have on hand. Go and buy the oil-based poly, because that was like probably the biggest regret of the entire project. The part that took the longest award goes to the cabinets. The dear cabinets. Oh my goodness, they took like over a month, I think, total to take them all down, sand them, put the new trim face on them, fill the edges, sand those again, fill them again, sand those again. That was like 3 rounds of wood filler. Prime them, then paint them. It was long. If you guys go back and watch part 2 of the vlogs, yeah, that was when we did the cabinets. It was very long. Do I regret it? No, they came out great. We really like them, but oh my goodness, did they take forever. Surprisingly easiest award goes to the backsplash. We got this tin backsplash. It's beautiful and it cuts very easily. It's easily maneuvered and manipulated, and Brandon had it up in only a couple of days. We caulked all the edges, and the only thing that I would say about that is that we definitely should have let everything settle, I think, longer, especially with the heat in our kitchen from the wood stove. We have a lot of expanding and contracting, and I wish I had waited a little bit to caulk the seams, because we've had some spots that have broken and need to be redone, but otherwise the backsplash was great. I'm so glad we did not decide to tile it, because nothing is straight in there. It would have been really hard to tile. It would have been very tedious. Let's talk about mistakes and regrets, which I have already kind of discussed. The countertop was probably the biggest. We'll reiterate, don't use water-based poly. It does not work. It comes out crappy. It's going to need to be redone. But what are we happiest with? Happiest with the floors. They came out so beautiful. They just look amazing in the room. We love the color of them. They complement the brick hearth so well. They go so well with the other colors in the room. They have that warmth to them. I originally didn't want dark floors, and now that we have them in there, I'm just like, yes, this was the perfect color. They're kind of an in-between. They're not super dark. They've got the light tones in them. Compared to the tile that we had in there before, they are a million times better. And they're holding up well, even with the heat from the wood stove in the room. We haven't had any problems with them. They're beautiful. We are also extremely happy with the hearth. It came out really well. It's perfect for the stove. It's exactly what the stove needed. We needed to get it elevated, and the brick color, it's just beautiful in the room. It went pretty smooth overall. There was definitely like a learning curve to it, but overall, absolutely so thrilled that we decided to do that. It just complements the room so well. And the last thing that I'm particularly very happy with is my stenciling. It makes me so happy, and it gives the room such character. It makes it feel just warm and homey, and I just enjoy it so much. I love it. Every time I look at it, I'm just like, oh, I'm so glad that I went and did that, because it felt like a risk at the time. You know, is this gonna feel like, you know, almost too staged? But no, I really love how it came out, and yeah, no regrets there. If I could put stenciling elsewhere in my house, I would, but I'm not gonna. Brandon watching this, don't panic. I'm not putting stenciling anywhere else. The projects are done for right now. So we're here at the budget part of the video, and I've actually been really excited to tell you guys about our budget, because I've been keeping it kind of hush-hush. I didn't want to tell you guys the number back when I was doing the vlogs, because I thought that you guys would laugh out loud at me, because it's a low number. It's not very high at all. And secondly, I was scared we were going to not hit it and have it be like embarrassingly off. So I was scared to say anything, but we're here. We're going to talk about it now. So our total budget for the entire kitchen renovation was $3,000. That's not a lot for a kitchen reno. If you look into the price of cabinetry and building materials, stuff like that, I mean, $3,000 is not very much to work with. Luckily, we have a small kitchen, so materials-wise, we didn't need as much as some kitchens would. And when I did my spreadsheet at the beginning of this project, I was very confident that we could stay within the $3,000. So, did we? And quickly want to preface this by saying that If you're watching this, you're planning on doing a DIY, but you do not have tools, I want you to take that into account. My husband has every tool under the sun, and if he doesn't have it, my father-in-law has it, and if he doesn't have it, there's tools down at my mom's house. I mean, we've pulled tools. Our friends Lindsay and Evan might have it. We've been able to get tools from all over the place. Mostly Brandon's collection though. So if you're going into a DIY like this and you don't have tools, just take that into account. You might have to rent tools, you might have to buy tools. So your expenses are probably going to be higher than ours were. We save a lot of money with having tools. We also save a lot of money having spare materials from other projects. Wood, nails, screws, caulk, paint, all that stuff. We have things from other projects, and so that's very helpful as well. Obviously that money went into those other projects, but I didn't include it in what we spent on this one overall. Just keep that in mind. We did have some stuff already here. The vast majority we did buy though. Here's the pricing breakdown. So cabinets, we refinished them. As you guys know, we did not put in new cabinets. They were just refaced and painted. $176. Floor and hearth was $773. We already had the bricks, so for the hearth we had to buy the mortar, and then we bought the flooring. The sink and faucet combined cost $406. The counters totaled out at $725. The lighting, $115. We did reuse a light for above the sink. In the future that may get swapped out, so the expense for lighting would go up a little bit. For just what's in there now, $115. Paint and stenciling, $105. Backsplash was $250. That was for the actual tin itself, and then also the little nails that we needed for it and the adhesive. And then finally, we came up with a miscellaneous number, which basically covers any of the small things that we had to buy along the way, the unexpected expenses that I wasn't necessarily keeping track of, because that can just be like, you know, you could be in the middle of something and be like, oh, we need this, and running to Home Depot and grabbing something small. I didn't necessarily write everything down. So the miscellaneous number we came up with was an additional $300. Could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less, but we're pretty sure 300 is probably pretty accurate, with a grand total of $2,850. So we were in budget. Yay! Now, where we were very close to $3,000, is it possible that we hit the $3,000 with extra expenses? Yes. I feel though that we did keep it at least under that or at that. And we don't think we were way above it. I think the $300 for the miscellaneous number was fair. So could it be a little bit more? Maybe. But either way, I think we were below $3,000. I have no regrets. I absolutely love my kitchen. It makes me smile every single day. And it's just been so much fun making it into what I wanted it to be. Brandon loves it. He's really happy with the choices that we made. It's a kitchen that I'm going to raise my son cooking stuff in. We're going to spend all of our family dinners in it. You know, it's a very important room, and it's important that we love it. There are things I'm going to add to it. There's going to be curtains eventually. I don't have any yet. There's probably going to be pull-down cellular shades added eventually. We like those for the summer, especially when the sun shifts in there. You need like a shade. We haven't purchased those yet. And then, you know, I'm sure along the way there'll be some more styling pieces added to it here and there. But for the most part, overall, it's done. And I am so relieved to say it's done. It'll be nice to have a summer for our family time now, especially where Teddy's getting a little bit older. This summer won't be spent holed up in a kitchen working on that. So that's it. We have reached the end of the line. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And thanks again so much for being here. You guys have all left the nicest remarks about our kitchen renovation. You all have been so encouraging just about our choices of design. And when I was freaking out about my paint colors, everyone was like, no, I love it. And like, it was just really nice to know that like my vision was coming through to other people. And yeah, again, we have no regrets. And it's just been, you know, a very rewarding process, I think, because Brandon and I can look back at that room and go, we did that. We did that. I appreciate you all being here. I hope you guys enjoy other renovation videos on my channel. I think I've mentioned before in another video that there probably won't be another like this for quite a long time. However, the garden is coming up. I have a whole garden planned out. We're hoping to do some outside projects this summer, and I'll definitely film what I can. So if this is the kind of thing you like, hopefully come back for that. Subscribe to my channel if you like homemaking content. That's what I like to do here. I like to just kind of show our life here in Maine as a little family and all the things that we do here. Make sure that you give the video a thumbs up, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this crazy journey. I'll see you all in my next video.